Joe just made a weird face. He always needs, just that little bit of attention here right off the bat. Danielle, the salty cooker here. We are making bananas Foster with crepes today. Cameraman, as always, is my husband, Joe. Joe, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm back here behind the camera. I'm watching the comment section. If you guys have any comments or questions, go ahead and put them in the comments area, and I'll be sure to get them over to Danielle.
So today we're going to get right started on making bananas Foster. So I'm just going to slice up the banana here. And one thing that I found with bananas Foster is a lot of people feel like it's harder than it actually is. This is one of the easiest desserts. I would say the most tricky part is really if you just want to set the booze on fire that we're going to put it in, but you don't even have to do that. You can just cook down the alcohol right from there. So I'm just going to throw this over here.
And Mary just joined. Thank you for joining, Mary.
Thank you for joining. So one of my favorite ways to make a dessert is as easy as possible. Now there are going to be some times that I'm going to do a crepe mix from scratch or, obviously desserts from scratch. But as a whole, it's kind of like pancakes. Once in a while I'll make them from scratch, but I prefer just to have a mix personally. I find that it's a lot easier. Then you have this available. You can just throw it in, quickly make it up, and have dessert really within about 20 minutes or so. So my go-to is Josie's Best. If you guys have been following me for a while, on Instagram especially, then I've been using Josie's Best stuff for years and years and years and years, and it's my go-to crepe mix, pancake mix, and waffle mix. And I'm just following the directions on the back of the package. So you have a couple different options, whether you want to do a smaller size or a larger size. For crepes, I always do the larger size because you can always keep them in the fridge and just use the leftovers the following day.
I'm going to welcome Elizette and Liz and Shauna, and we've got a bunch of other followers that have joined. Just to remind you guys, I'm back here behind the camera. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and post them there, and I'll be sure to get them over to Danielle.
Yep, and we are making bananas Foster. So it is 2 cups of dry mix. Let's see, 1 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of water. I already have that measured out. I tried to be a little bit more prepared this time. I swear this last time, it was like getting back in the groove of things on just, it's been a few months since we've been on a live. And then we're doing 3 eggs. So I felt like we were stumbling a little bit. I forgot a few of like the key ingredients on making the dish. So this time I really tried to prepare. Get those in there. And you can also mix this in a blender, food processor, to make sure it gets really smooth. That's the key part of doing crepes, is making sure that the mixture is super smooth. We're going to add a little bit of vanilla, and because we're doing bananas Foster, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon to the mix. And that's another reason why I love using a lot of dry mixes, not only because it's a massive time saver, but you can also really customize it. As long as it's not like a flavored one, you could add, like, if you wanted to do savory crepes, add some chives, some parsley, some smoked paprika, give it some great flavor that way. And then you could always, add like smoked salmon and cream cheese and chives into it, and it's such a delicious combo. Or doing sweet like this, we can add some different spices to kick it up a little bit. Okay, so we have, let's see, eggs, water, I need milk, 3/4 cups of milk. And everything that I make is gluten-free, dairy-free. You're welcome to use full dairy, full gluten. There's going to be no change in how the recipe tastes. And Joe, I'm surprised you're not saying anything. Normally I don't measure. I'm just like, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Then he gives me crap on, yeah, it's not quite right. Okay.
Well, welcome Sue and Melissa and Susan and Donna have joined. Thank you guys.
Thank you for joining us. We are making bananas Foster today. I talked to my dad earlier, and he's asking me, so you're going to set it on fire on your live? Like, yeah, I didn't do that last time. I should have probably mixed all the wet ingredients first since we're not doing this in a blender. I didn't want it to be so loud that it's, taking over. But anyways, yeah, he's asking, are you going to set it on fire? I'm like, I don't know. I'm always worried about setting off the smoke alarms. I did that on one live. I've set stuff on fire on another live. Whoops, I'm really making a mess. But I think I have enough clearance. I have the fan going. I think we're just going to go for it because that's normally what I would do, is just set it on fire. I did that to the grills like 2 weeks ago. I was just coming off of being sick, and Joe's upstairs, thank goodness, because he would have came down, videoed it, definitely shared it to everybody on. I set like 2 of my grills on fire, not meaning to. My brain was just mush after being sick. Okay.
Not just 1, but 2.
Yeah. Classic. I was like, oh, it's a gorgeous day. I'm going to get some grilling videos done. Yeah, I shouldn't have been cooking whatsoever. So I set those on fire. I was like, all right, I can't cook. We're getting Chinese food. All right, so we have that smooth. I like to mix it in a measuring cup with a spout on it. You can definitely just mix it in a bowl if you want, and then just pour it in. And then let's come over. Let me just make sure I did everything. Got that. Yeah, come on over here. And we've actually made Bananas Foster once live on Instagram, so I'm going to answer some of the questions that came up there. If you guys have any questions, especially on making crepes, that's where we get quite a few questions typically. Go ahead and just pop them up and let Joe know.
And we'll welcome Jane and Mary and Terry and Nellie, all the wise.
Thank you for joining us, guys. We are making Bananas Foster. So one of the most common questions I get is, do you need the fancy crepe maker? No, you don't. You can use just a nonstick skillet. Well, I shouldn't say any size because they're small ones, and you could still use that, but it'd be a little bit more of a pain. So I like to use, I would say, a medium to larger size skillet. Lots of nonstick spray, especially in the beginning, to just get that coated. Get a spatula with a nice edge to it, because when we flip, we're going to press that up a little bit. The first crepe, I always say, is the throwaway because it just never seems to be quite right. But after like the first one, normally it starts to go a little bit smoother. So the key is we want to let the pan heat up a little bit. We have our heat to a medium-low heat. If you're on a hot burner like I am, you may have to adjust it just a little bit if it starts to get too hot. And I'm just going to give that one more stir and then ditch this. The key is to get the bottom of it coated, but not too much. If you make a little bit of a thicker crepe, it's not going to really affect it. It's going to have a little bit of a different consistency, but it's still delicious. All right, so here is the first one. Pop this over here, and then you're just going to swirl your pan. It's all in the wrist. And just keep swirling it until you get it all the way coated. But you can see, since we have a skillet that has sides coming up, that we're going to have a little bit of that lip there. That's why we want to have a spatula that we can kind of, scoop that a little bit, like grab that edge and then be able to flip it. And the flipping can take a little bit of practice, but really, again, if it's broken, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to fold them up and it's going to be fine.
Don't you dare.
Yeah. Oh, I'm breaking all yours.
It's like a fried egg. You can't break it.
Yeah.
It wrecks the whole thing.
So what we're looking for is we want the edges to start to turn a golden brown color. We want that sheen on the top gone. You can see the sheen is almost completely gone there. So we're just going to flip that up, flip it over, and that's it. Super simple. So yeah, any questions, go ahead and pop them up to Joe. And we're just going to go ahead and make some crepes here, and then we're going to get on to the bananas foster part and set something on fire. The other side doesn't need that long to cook because it's really already cooked. We're just going to, you know, give it like a minute or two, and then we're going to move on to the next one. So this one is done, and I'll flip it over so you can see that it has a little bit of browning there. That's what we're looking for.
Doesn't really seem like that one was a throwaway.
No, that one turned out good. I'll take it. So now we're going to swish it around. If you find that one part like you didn't add enough, just add a little bit more batter and then swish it around. Sometimes, especially depending on the heat of your pan, I would say the hotter it gets, the quicker it's going to cook. So then sometimes you may have a part that's a little bit thicker, so it's not going to move the batter around as quickly. So just add a little bit more and it will be fine. And now that our pan is heating up, I'm going to turn down the heat just a little bit.
Yeah, they go quick now.
Yeah, it really goes quick. And don't worry, I'm not going to make all this with you guys. I like to do the larger amount because then I'll save the batter in the fridge and then I'll make something tomorrow too with it. Make a new recipe.
Crepes for days.
Yeah, it's the best.
So yeah, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comment section and I'll be sure to pass them along to Danielle while she cooks and she can answer them for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so Josie's is one of my favorite pantry staple brands. I think they also have like jams and stuff like that on there, but all of their mixes are hands down my favorite to keep in the pantry because you can have an easy dessert, an easy breakfast, lunch. I mean, crepes are so versatile. You can make so much with them because it's bread. So make whatever you want with it. Or would it be considered bread? I would think so. We're going to say yes. Let us know if you think that's wrong, what you would call it.
Constance said, can we get the recipe, please?
Absolutely. So I'm going to post the recipe as soon as the live is done, right in the comment section. And we'll have the crepes. We're going to have the bananas foster. Now, one thing that I love about bananas foster, if you guys go on my website, actually the bananas foster crepes is the one recipe I don't have on there. I don't know how. I've made this a million times. But if you type in bananas foster, you're going to see it every other way besides on crepes. I've made it with one of my favorite ways. If you really want to go all out, is take your banana bread. Let me just get this going. Turn that down. And we're just going to do one more here. Meg, and then top it with bananas foster. So good.
And where can people find all these recipes?
On thesaltycooker.com. They're all on my website. This is the only one with actual crepes that's not. It will be up shortly. I will get it on there. I just actually realized that it wasn't. Okay, so how many do we have here?
There was another
1, 2,
good
3,
lesson we
4.
learned not that long ago. Be careful when you're spraying the pan into a pan around open flames.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Apparently, things that come out of an aerosol can are flammable.
Yeah, it's weird. Who knew? That one is so delicate. So, so delicious. You know what? I'm going to make one more. I think I have room for 5 on my plate. And I think Joe's going to try to eat these from me.
I was going to say, I think I have room for 5 in my belly.
Yeah. He hasn't eaten dinner yet, so I need to be safe. So yeah, overall super easy recipe. And then once we flip this, we'll start the bananas foster. And I'm going to show you guys a few different options for that, or I should say the bananas foster topping, which is on my website. I like to add nuts into the bananas foster. I like to do walnuts because got to have a little bit of a crunch, but that's completely optional. So you could just do the traditional bananas. Whoops. I don't think I was meant to have that 5th one. There we go. And for the bananas foster, I do like to use a large skillet because you want to have the bananas be able to get out and really get soaked. You don't want them topped on top of each other because they're going to get mushy really quick. So having the space on the skillet is going to be key. Okay. Swap these out. So we're going to start over low heat, 4 tablespoons of butter. Again, I'm doing everything dairy-free. You can do full dairy, full gluten. And we're going to let this melt first. Now for the, get it up just a little bit. For the alcohol portion, if you did not want to do alcohol, you could always just do like a little bit of apple cider. I found that that works really well, but you're just going to reduce that by half. I'll have notes in the breakdown of everything. For the liquor, you could do spiced rum is the traditional. You could also do whiskey or bourbon. Personally, I'm a whiskey bourbon girl, so that's what I prefer to have in it. But a spiced rum definitely adds a really nice flavor to it. And I have just enough. Joe's family was here, so I have just enough left. I didn't even think about it until I was prepping everything for the live today, and I was like, oh crap, his family was here just a little bit ago. I don't think I have booze. And I had just enough left.
Always gotta blame my family.
Hey, if my family was here, they would be doing it too, so don't worry. All right, and I'm gonna get rid of this plastic. Since we are in a metal skillet, we're gonna get, let's do this one. And I just want that butter to get all melted. Now we don't want to brown the butter, so we want to kind of have all of our ingredients ready to go. So we need a little bit of vanilla. And again, I'll have the recipe in there. Pinch of salt. I like to use kosher salt.
Is that a pinch or a punch?
Pinch.
Okay.
Pinch. Now, personally, I always, especially when you're working with gas, I always turn off the gas just because getting alcohol. I've set myself on fire enough times that I get worried. I shouldn't say myself, my hair. I've set my hair on fire like a solid 5 times. So I like to just be a little bit safe working with a gas stove. I turn off the gas. I measure out how much we need, which is a 1/4 cup. Throw it in. Turn on the stove. Now, you can set it on fire if you want it a couple different ways. You could tip it and it'll catch with the fumes and everything. Or just use a, what do you call these?
Lighter.
Lighter. You know, that fancy name.
And what's the point of letting it on fire? What's that do?
We're burning off that alcohol taste. So we're really reducing that flavor down because all we want is the really nice flavor that alcohol adds to it. We don't want that bitterness. And you can taste that in a lot of different foods, like, especially to me, barbecue, like barbecue sauces that somebody says it's like a bourbon or a whiskey, and you taste it and you can immediately taste like, I don't know, like a bitter or sour taste that wasn't burned off. So when you burn it off, you're getting all that flavor, you're reducing it down without having that punch. So now we're going to add our brown sugar. Let's see, brown sugar, cinnamon, and then I'll come down here so you can come over here. I know I'm in your way right now.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, like, get out of the kitchen. All right, add a little bit of cinnamon. There we And we're just going to mix this up. I like to mix the sugar down a little bit so it breaks down just a little bit before we add those bananas. If you find that your sauce is a little bit too thick, you can always add in a little bit of water to loosen it up some. I've had to do that quite a few times. Just sometimes it just, the heat, you know, temperature, something like that, it seems to affect it. So I have one very large banana that I sliced up. I could actually probably even do one more. And this will feed, you know, depending on how much you guys like dessert and stuff, this normally will feed about 2 to 3 people. Or I'm sorry, 2 to 4 people.
Constance commented and said, I can imagine the taste with a sweetened ricotta filling, a blueberry pie topper, and squeeze of fresh lemon. This was a recipe, or this was a crepe I recently had, and it was delicious.
That sounds phenomenal. That is right up my alley. Now we want to get the bananas coated, and I'm actually going to turn off that heat. We want to get the bananas coated, but you want to be careful to not break up the bananas. So we're just going to lightly toss them here. Yeah, ricotta makes everything better. It's so delicious. And you can see that they're nice and coated. You could caramelize them a little bit longer if you wanted to. Oh, this smells so good, guys. I wish you guys could be over here having some. It smells so, so good. All right, so let's go ahead and plate. That's it. So really, I mean, when you have everything prepped, ready to go, you can have a delicious dessert. If you want to do a breakfast or whatever, you can have it ready to go within 20 minutes. And you can place these however you want. I'm really not good at doing, like, figuring out how to do crepes and like how to make them look pretty. If you guys go on the website, I have so many crepe recipes, but I swear I'm like, I just don't know how to fold them and make them look a certain way. So I just kind of pile them up there because it's all going to taste the same. All right. Now I'm just going to scrape this a little bit so we can get a nice smooth, let's see, I better get rid of this. I always forget how large this pan is. And we have bananasfoster. I'll get that one out. Add a little bit of whipped cream, some ice cream on top. It is so delicious. So, so delicious.
Smells real good.
Doesn't it smell good? And you could always take out the bananas and do this with apples. That would be delicious with pears.
Didn't you say something about some sort of crunch on there?
No.
You were going to add some sort of nuts to it?
Oh, I forgot to add them. I even have them right there. You're supposed to remind me when I was making
I thought you were putting them on top or something.
That's what I was doing. No, I got swept away. So normally when you add in the bananas, that's when I would add in the nuts. So then you can get kind of like that candied nut flavor. I forgot that. So we're just going to add some on top here. Damn it, Joe, you had one job.
I had one job. My one job is holding the camera. I can't hold the camera and do the cooking.
Yeah. So there's the finished product. It's so delicious. They're so light. Such a classic recipe. Just make a mess here in this goodness. You can see how thin they are. So yeah, I would definitely recommend if you guys are looking for a crepe mix. It's not an ad. I just like to promote the brands that I absolutely love. So Josie's is a pantry staple for me, but you can always make your own crepe mix from scratch. The bananas foster topping is so delicious. It goes on everything. I swear it goes on everything, makes everything better. And I'll go ahead and post the full recipe below.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.